I want to talk about Oprah. Continue with Oprah. Um, Oprah had the relationship that Oprah had with her mother. I think was I don't I think it was not all that great, but I think she still continued to have the relationship with her. Um, and you know, and and I remember seeing something that she told her when her mother got sick, and she went to see her, and I think that again it wasn't a great relationship, but I think that Oprah. I think she tried, but I don't think it was. It was. She was so. I think she. Because she had mentioned that she went to the hospital and seen her and talked with her, and then she ended up leaving, and then like it was. I think at some point she didn't feel comfortable with just leaving the hospital, and I think she went back to her mother and told her um, that um, that she done a great job for raising her with what she had. She didn't think that it was the best relationship, but she accept that her mother could only give what she had, or like that, and she told her mother, "Well done," for what she did have to give her, although that other people nurtured her and stuff like that. And but I'm glad she did that so she wouldn't go away with her mother passing, and she still having those ill feelings like that. I'm glad she did, and she she asked her mother did she want to see her mother and stuff like that, and she said yes and stuff like that. But I'm glad Oprah patched it up with her, like, before she passed. So she wouldn't carry that load around with her. Um, um, uh, the other daughter that they did find that Oprah had another sister or whatever. Oprah had her on her show and all that stuff. And I remember the other sister sold Oprah out and stuff, but this one didn't. She said she written to Oprah in the past and when she had the show and everything, and was telling that she was her sister. And I think that Oprah probably didn't believe her or whatever. And eventually it came out that she was the one. She even asked her pastor to get in touch with Oprah or whatever. But I think, Oprah probably know that there's, people out there that saying they related and this, that, and the other and all that stuff. But I think her mother eventually came out and told her that, yeah, she had gave away her daughter and stuff, and that, you know, and I think the blood test kind of proved it, and stuff like that. Or the DNA test probably proved it, that she was the daughter and stuff like that. And I think Oprah, welcomed her with open arms and, put her through school. And the other sister, her children, Oprah helped with that too. So Oprah can be generous and stuff like that. Um, but I think she wanted them, you know, to get a better education and stuff like that. And there's nothing wrong with that. Like that. Um, um, uh, I want to finish talking about preachers. Preachers, I liked a lot of preachers, you know, but I think Joyce Myers, Billy Graham, Creflo, T.D. Jakes, um, Billy Graham, and stuff like that. But I think, there are a lot of great ones that do help people and stuff like that. With their preaching and I think they help as far as give money and stuff like that too to help people also through their preaching, and stuff like that, you know. Um, you know. Um, Let me see who else. Donald Trump. Well, let's say the coronavirus. I remember in 2020, right after Kobe Bryant had passed in 2020. This is where, when February rolled around, this is where the news outlets was reporting about the coronavirus, and it was reporting it so much that a lot of people were being infected, a lot of people were dying from it, and stuff like that, and a lot of people. I mean, it hit New York, it hit L.A., it hit those two places. Well, those two places that reported it. I remember China coming out and saying that there was coronavirus or whatever, and then it started to hit New York and California, and I was like, what's up with that? Because when I think about New York and California, they are the two moneymakers. The two places that make money. Like when you talk about New York, the trade place, and all the businesses out there, Wall Street and all that. And then when you look at L.A., you talk about Hollywood. And they make a lot of money out there, and the coronavirus for some reason hit those two places. Well, at least reported, and when they will report, they was the ones that reported after China, and I was like, well, where is LA and where is New York, and stuff like that. I know New York is on the east and LA is on the west. And I was like, well, where is they at on the map? And if you look at New York and China was like on the end. And because they were on the end of the map, ain't nothing but water afterwards. Ain't nothing but water. When you look at the map, you see, well, if that's L.A. and this is New York, they are two that's on the end. So any place in between wasn't reporting it right away. And I was like, well, why did it hit L.A. and New York first? Like, and stuff like that. And I was like, they two, the money makers, and New York seemed to be the ones that always hit. When you talk about the World Trade Center, the Twin Towers, and now the coronavirus, why is New York always one being hit? And shit like that. And I think it's human behind that, to be honest with you. But behind the coronavirus, and stuff like that. But just like human was behind the World Trade Center, and stuff like that. But again, they was the two ones on the end, like. And they was the two money makers, New York and L.A. Like, I'm like, what the fuck is going on? It looks suspicious looking, but and then again, a lot of people would continue to be infected with it and dying and stuff like that. I think during this particular time. And I was like, well, what else is in 2020? The election, Donald Trump. And he gets on the airways and tell people, okay, this is going to be all right and stuff like that. But Donald Trump knew that the coronavirus was deadly, and he did not tell the public. Well, I'm talking about before the deaths. Before the deaths, he knew that the coronavirus was deadly, because his people that work on the president stuff told the public that Donald Trump knew that it was deadly, but he did not tell the public because he didn't want the public to panic. Panic? I don't think panic was the word. But again, because you had people dying, and they didn't even know if they was going to live or die. At least he could have send a warning to people to vitamin up or eat up and stay healthy and mask up and this, that, and the other and all this stuff. But he did not do that. In the beginning, I'm talking about before people were dying, and he knew that. Though he knew that information and did not tell the public. Like, and you sit there and say, like, what the fuck is going on? Like that's saying. Well, I know, but he had to know and look at the news and seeing that people were dying and still said nothing. Like that. He had to know and still said nothing. And telling people, getting up and making conferences, press conferences, and telling people, oh, it's going to be all right, we're going to come together, and also stuff. And here people are dying. And you sit there and think, like, what the fuck what the fuck is going on with him? I mean, like that's just like, knowing that information and seeing people die now. And I don't know. I can't really and I know it probably was tough for him to know the information, but still didn't tell well. It still didn't tell. And stuff like that. And here is where the George Floyd thing came in. Man, and I'm sitting there thinking, like, you know, because the coronavirus hit, and then the George Floyd thing happened, and then he got his knee in his neck, and killed him, you know, like that. And it was protesting and burning down buildings, statues, you name it. All these press conferences and people had to stay stuck in the house, stay home by gunpoint, you know, like that, and saying, hey, stay in the house. We doesn't want you to come out, and this, that, and the other, because the coronavirus is on the prowl, and stay high, you know, and stuff like that, and people did, but you know, I think there was still some protesting going on. They didn't give a shit about, you know, the coronavirus, but again, this is happening in all one time though. I mean, the coronavirus is hitting the airway, hitting, and people are protesting, you know, because of what happened with George Floyd. And I think that it wasn't going to stop them from protesting. The coronavirus didn't stop people from protesting. And it was burning down buildings, statues, and police and all that stuff. Killings, you name it. All going on at this time, man. And people are selling books and DVDs and shit, like making money, T-shirts and all that. I mean, it always takes a tragedy for them to come out and want to sell shit. And they use the tragedy to sell that. Like they coming out with books and T-shirts and DVDs and movies and you name it. And people were capitalizing on the George Floyd thing and the coronavirus. You know, because they came at the same time. And it's ironic that they came at the same time. Two deadliest things came at the same time. Like, what you mean deadly? The black male and the police officer, that's deadly. Because, again, they are going, it's like a damn power struggle with the two. And it's just as deadly because either somebody is put in the ground and someone is going to prison. And nothing has been solved, and even though those two happened. Nothing changed because it continued. People are still dying. Police officers are getting shot, killed, African Americans, you know, and shit like that. You know, all this shit, the looting and stuff going on in people's stores, stealing their shit. All of this is still going on. And the two deadliest things came at the same time. The two deadliest things came at the same time. Well, let's put number 3, the presidency. You know, I'm not saying that was deadly, but when you got the coronavirus, and then you got the George Floyd thing, and then you got the presidency. You know, it's in 2020. And the George Floyd thing, you know, was catastrophic. I think that was catastrophic, you know. You know, because the black male and the police officers going toe to toe. It's like a damn power struggle. Like, you know, who's going to win? You know, and unfortunately, George Floyd died. And I think if George Floyd never would have went in his store, he would have never, his life would have never ended. If he had never went in the store, then they wouldn't have never had the conflict with the people in the store or whatever. And the coronavirus is going, wild, and with its fury, taking people's lives and people being infected and stuff like that. And I wonder who's putting that out there. Because again, it took a lot of lives, and people in the nursing homes were being infected. It's ironic that they got their old people out of the way, at least some of them, and stuff like that. And people were scared to go in nursing homes, and shit like that, because a lot of them were dying in nursing homes and shit like that. And it makes me wonder who put that shit out there and continue to put it out there. I'm talking about the coronavirus. And who is putting it the fuck out there. Even though they gives all these damn tests and doses, and hey, take a COVID, get your shot, and shit like that, but yet still putting the coronavirus out there. It's like a double-edged sword. Like, well, we're still putting it out there, but get the dose. What's the point? It's like a damn double-edged sword. Like, it's still taking lives. It's people still being infected, even though dose number 1, dose number 2, and then the other dose. I mean, like, what the fuck is going on? Like, it makes you wonder, man. It makes you wonder, like, what's the point of, they putting it out there in the streets, in the air for people to catch it, and then say, go get your shot. I mean, like, what the fuck? Like, saying get your shot. You're putting that shit out there and then tell you to get the shot? I mean, like, what the fuck is going on? And then the protesting, and people saying what's wrong with them, and why they looting, why they tearing down statues and all this old stuff. They care about them damn statues more than they do human bodies. And it's a shame that it's that way, but that's how it is. And I'm not saying that it was okay to tear down those statues, but people are fucking tired of going through that same shit every fucking year. It seems like every year it's going through the police officers and the black male. It's going toe to toe, man. It's like a damn power struggle for the last 20 years, 20-something years. And stuff like that. It's insane, like. And then we got the coronavirus thrown in for good measure. Like. And then you got it's like two deadliest things meet at the same time. Like. Two deadliest things. The black male and the police officer. Two deadliest things. The power struggle. That's deadly. And because one is put in the ground and one is in prison. And nothing changed. Because thereafter, for the last 20 years, and thereafter George Floyd was killed, there was still more killings, police officers being killed, or the other way around, the black male killed and the police officer going to prison. It was like, it was like turmoil, like. It's like a damn tragedy. and stuff like that, and throwing coronavirus on top of that. It was just as deadly, and shit like that, and people were still looting and tearing down buildings, setting shit on fire, fucking with the police officers and shit like that, and then they want to bring the armed forces in, and what was that going to do? Make things where people were terrified. The people in charge of the states, shit, they were terrified to bring the armed forces. Man, it would have been like a fucking war, world war, in the United States, because they said, "Hey, we doesn't want y'all to bring those troops in because it'll get just as worse in these American streets." Because people want it, gangs don't give a shit about wars. They welcome that. So bringing in the armed forces was going to just make shit worse. You want to see gangs? You want to see a fucking world war? Bring in those, and again, people out on the street got guns too, not just the fucking military. And shit like that. And Donald Trump was trying to, intimidate people by saying, "Hey, we're bringing in the armed force." So a lot of them like, so bring them on. We want to fight anyway. And shit like that. And based on what happened to George Floyd, hey, we want to fight anyway. Bring them damn troops on. And shit like that. It'd have been really catastrophic. They did bring some of the armed forces on. Even some of them got the fuck hurt. It would have been really like catastrophic. Because people welcome the armed forces in. People want to go to war anyway. I'm talking about the people in the streets. They want to go to war anyway. And Donald Trump think he was threatening people. Man, some gang shit will welcome that. Some gangs welcome that. Like, welcome the war with the military. People out on the street got guns as well. It's no different, man. And I think that people were terrified. Like the governors and stuff like that in certain states, they would say, "No, don't bring those damn troops in." Because they know, man. They got a bunch of gangs that's terrorizing the streets already. They just want to bring them to, it would be like a world war in the United States. And in the United States communities. You think they looting and tearing down buildings and shit. You bring in the damn armed forces, it could have been like a world war. Like, and a lot of people were terrified, No, don't bring no damn troops into our streets. You really would see a damn war. And shit like that. You can imagine the killings. You can imagine the killings. Again, people out in the street got guns too, not just the military. Again. And stuff like that, and people getting hurt and killed, and after George Floyd got killed, then plenty more was killed after that, and police officers getting killed, shot, killed, shot and killed. Even some went to prison. Police officers. Some police officers were shot and killed, and some police officers went to prison because they fucking with. They going to battle with the black male and the public and all this sort of stuff. And then the black male Some of them were killed, and someone went to prison as well. It was like a a battle, on the streets of America. Like, and then throw the damn election on top. Let's talk about that shit. Again, Donald Trump was on the airways telling, people that, again, he didn't tell America that the coronavirus was deadly. He knew that before the deaths. He knew that. And he withheld that from the public. Talking about, all this so crazy shit. But again, and people were steadily dying, and because he withheld that, he had to see the news. He was making all those public press conferences, so he knew that the public, a lot of people were dying from it, especially in those nursing homes. Like that, and a lot of them were dying. The coronavirus hit those damn nursing homes. Makes me wonder about that too. And it killed a lot of them. And and shit like that. But the presidency, around the time George Floyd, after the coronavirus hit and George Floyd is killed, at this point, Donald Trump did want the election canceled. He did want it, and they said no. I think because it was stopping Trump from going out and greeting the public and stuff like that, and it was stopping him from doing the coronavirus because because they were still trying to tell people to mask up, stay home, and this, that, and the other, and all this sort of stuff. So I think he was getting frustrated with that because he wanted to go out and greet the public and stuff and try to get their votes and get them to vote for him and this, that, and the other, and all this sort of stuff. And Biden stayed home. I mean, he was making videos. He was making videos, but he wasn't going out in public. Like, I mean, he wasn't making a lot of public, and he was going out, and Trump was going out, in the public and stuff like that. And then they stopped that, and he got frustrated and said, "Hey, let's cancel the election." And they said, "No, we do it. We always did it this way, and this is going to, continue. We're not stopping that." So, they had the mail-in ballots and all that sort of stuff, and they were scared of that because anybody could vote or whatever, and you don't know how many people is doing that, sign if the mail-in votes and all that stuff, you don't know how many people fill out one, 2 or 3 or whatever. I don't know, but again, they were frightened of that, but they went with it, and here's where Trump says, that it was stolen. After the ballots goes and they tallies it up. Here's where once the votes get in, and then they did a recount. And in certain Georgia, I think one was in Georgia, they did a recount in Georgia and all this sort of stuff. Because I think at first the thing I thought was that Trump thought he was going to beat Biden because Biden was staying home. He wasn't out rallying. He did videos, but he wasn't out rallying with the public and stuff. And I think that they the votes were coming in, you know, constantly coming in and stuff like that. And he was winning. Trump was. But I think that Joe Biden passed his ass. And I think Georgia and somewhere else that Biden got more than Trump. And Trump, you know, at this point, most of the votes was in. You know, when he beat Georgia, when Biden beat Georgia, and I think it was another state that Biden got more than Trump. And this where he says, most of the votes are in now, most of them in. He says the election was stolen. And again, before that, when he said the election was stolen, they said, we want to recount. And those places did do the recount. Those places did, and he even went to court and tried to have the recount. You know, we want to look at everything and this, that, and the other, and stuff. You know, because, you know, I think he really thought that he was going to beat Biden. And, you know, he really thought that he was going to beat Biden. And he found out different. And this is where he says it was stolen. And they tried to, like, he tried to take it to court and stuff like that to bring attention to the counts and all of this stuff, and, you know, because he's saying it's stolen, and they say, well, give us proof that it was stolen. Come on, give me some proof here, you know, and shit like that, and Trump and his lawyers could not prove that. Even though I'm not saying what Trump is saying is wrong. I'm not saying that. But what I'm saying is that Trump didn't prove that. Because Trump could have been right. But if he didn't prove it, what's the point? Like, what's the point? Because, you know, because people, and then you had people, you know, his followers and all this, they started taking him off of Twitter or whatever and shit like that, all these, you know, because they thought that those social media places were influencing people to vote this way, that way, you know, and shit like that. And it was like, we doesn't want to have anything to do with that, you know, we're influencing people to vote for Trump or vote for Biden. We don't want to be part of that, you know, and stuff like that. You know, but again, you know, they went to the courts and everything, and the bottom line is that he didn't prove that. But him and his followers were believing that he's telling his followers that it was stolen, and there was no proof of that. Like, I mean, you know, even if Trump was right, but when he went to court or whatever, he didn't prove it, and they was like, well, he can't prove that, man. You can't prove that it was like that. You know, and stuff like that. And so he continued to say that. And other people was on the side that wanted him to win. And then they start talking about Biden. Oh, he's hiding in his basement. He doesn't want to come out. He's scared. He's tripping over his words. And they did not want Biden to win. They wanted Trump to win. when you listen to the radio, they was furious that Biden won. They wanted Trump to win. They was furious that Biden won, that Trump lost, and and I was thinking before the election had tally up the thing, I was like, something's going to go wrong. I knew, I had a feeling that something was going to go wrong before the counts came in. Before that, and before January 6th, where they went to the Capitol building and tore that shit up over there, I knew that something was going to go wrong. It was like a feeling that I had that something was going to go wrong. I don't know what it is, what it is, but something's going to go wrong with this damn election. I mean, and everything involved, and that, like, something was going to go wrong. I just knew it. And so the tally came in, and he went through all their process, and he's sitting there telling his followers it was stolen, it was stolen, it was stolen. They were riding around town holding up stuff. The election was stolen, and camped out in public buildings and saying it was stolen. Trump won,